Okay, we're going to make some pine cone syrup, which is absolutely amazing. It is a different taste than probably any other syrup we've ever tried. But these are fresh pine cones that are still young and obviously green from one of our pine trees here in the Pacific Northwest. So we just gathered a whole bunch of them and you put a layer of them down. Now, I think what I started doing when I first started was putting sugar down and then pine cones, then sugar, pine cones, and you layer it. And what I did on this next video, you'll see doing alder, is I started with pine cones because the sugar, I only let it sit for maybe a month and a half and it tastes absolutely phenomenal. It's so phenomenal. But I noticed that the sugar tends to almost crystallize at the bottom. But what it does is the sugar will pull all the moisture from the pine cones and develop like a sugary syrup. So you just continue to layer it, pine cone or sugar, whichever. Pine cones, sugar, pine cones, sugar, pine cones, sugar, and just keep going until they are filled to your liking. We ended up with so many of these darn pine cones because the pine trees here put off like 3 pine cones on each branch. So we would take one instead of, like all 3. You definitely want to leave some there so they keep going. Yeah, just keep alternating. And some of them still have a little bit of the pine tree on them. Don't worry about all the little brown bitty bits and whatnot. All that ends up coming out in the wash. So just keep layering and keep going. So I ended up with 3 jars. And because we were going out in the field for 3 weeks, I decided I'm going to let them sit for a lot longer than usual. Usual, it's like 2 weeks. And I call it Christmas syrup because it tastes like Christmas to me. Like it has all the Christmas flavors. So you want to put your lids on, but not too tight. And you can see all the liquid that it's extracting from the pine cones. That's a week later. It's pretty cool. I was excited to see it. But I get excited about, I guess, stupid shit like this. So I think it's fun. But all 3 jars all did it at their own pace and did extracted differently, which was also pretty cool to watch. So 7 days in, we're already seeing some liquid. I think this is about, 2 weeks in? And look at how much it has shrunk. And look at all that. 9 days. So 2 days after that. Look at how much liquid is in there now and how much it shrunk in the jars. So it went for 1 month and 4 days. I ended up putting them in here. I did add a little bit of water, probably a whole jar full, because what I've learned is if I don't, the syrup ends up crystallizing. And so basically I rinsed off the pine cones to get all the sugar off and strained them into here. So remember all those little bitty bits and whatnot? That's why you don't have to worry about it. But you can see all the syrup just coming on down through there. Of course, every time I get in the kitchen, everybody wants to know what I'm doing. So I just let that strain for a bit until it quits dripping. And then I dug out all the sugar. Like I said, I did add probably a jar full of water. And then you can see the sugar left on the bottom of the pan there. I put it on a medium heat, and look at how runny it is. And just stirred it all in. I think I kept doing the spoon test just so you guys could watch it. And it probably cooked for a couple hours because you want to evaporate a lot of the liquid, but not too much, if that makes sense. So through the next few minutes, you'll watch it warm up and start changing, and it changes colors, and you can see it start changing consistency and all that really cool stuff. It gets a little iffy because it does start boiling, which gets a little worrisome once in a blue moon, but it smells absolutely wonderful. And like I said, it smells and tastes like Christmas. It's, I don't know, that nostalgic type thing. So here it is, starting to boil. You can see it starting to lighten up. All the sugar is dissolved. Still really liquidy. I did end up putting a candy thermometer in it because I had one available, so that way I could tell you about what it gets to. But I took it to the syrup stage if you have a candy thermometer, which I believe was around 200. It shows in the video. But you see all that foam up on top. There's some little bitty bits in there, but I don't even worry about that. Those end up dissolving eventually. And here we are, starting to boil. Like I said, this does take a little while. I take it a little slower just so I don't burn it because it is mostly sugar. And I don't want to burn the syrup because this is a once-a-year thing for us. So here we are at a rolling boil. Like I said, I put the thermometer in there. We're starting to kind of thicken up, as you can tell, but not a whole lot. And look at that foam. Now we're really getting going. And if you hold it out, you can see it starting to drip slower. So if you've ever made candy before, then you know the deal. And now all my foam has dissipated, and we're still at a little boil. So I'm gonna take, you can see how slow it's dripping. I'm gonna take a little bit and I'm gonna put it on a cool spatula to see how it thickens up. I'll let it cool a little bit in the spoon, which I don't know how much it cools because it's still over a hot pot, but you can do this probably over fire if you're careful with your fire. So I put it on my cooled spatula. Eventually, come on. Just trying to get it cooled down a little bit. Good gravy. Can I take longer? Oh, there we go. Apparently I waited forever. There, look at that drip. And you see how it stops running on the spatula? That's when I know I'm at the consistency I want. Now, the mister said, you can make it a little thicker if you'd like. And I was like, I guess I could if you want. That's his hint of please make it thicker. So I did end up making it thicker. And as you can see there, we're not running a whole lot. Here, I think I try and check the thermometer. So yeah, we're a little over 200, probably about 220. And these are great thermometers. They tell you for like candy, frying, all kinds of stuff. It's great. And because I don't have a funnel or anything anymore, I just ended up dipping my measuring cup in here and pouring it into each of the jars. And out of 3 jars, remember we started with 3? Oh, I guess I poured it, which is even more precarious for me because I am not very coordinated. Try not to get it all over the stove. So remember we started with 3 jars. I ended up with almost 2 complete jars. Sorry, I got interrupted. So almost 2 complete jars of syrup. And this will end up lasting us all year. And then, like I said, in another video coming up, I will show you the alder syrup, which is the same process, but requires actually some cleaning because I use dried pine or alder cones, the little alder cones. And so, yeah, that's it. And this is absolutely delicious. If you look online, it is a lot darker, and it is about $30 for 3 ounces or so. And they let it sit, I think, for 6 months. I don't know. No one here wants to let it sit that long. And so it's really good this way. So I don't let it sit that long. And it's fantastic on top of everything. So there you go. Give it a try. Enjoy. You can use dried ones. Just rinse them off really well. Let them rehydrate a little bit. You can use the green pine cones that are starting to turn brown.